Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make coleslaw. Hey Sugar Spun Bakers, Sam here, and today I have another very simple, carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. Today we are making a pretty basic coleslaw. It's nice and extra creamy, it's perfectly flavored, and I'm going to be showing you how to make it with full heads of cabbage. If you've never shredded your own cabbage before, today we're going to learn how to do that. Now of course you can use store-bought, pre-shredded coleslaw mix if you want instead, but today we are going to be shredding our own. Now here I have one green cabbage. To start, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to peel off and discard the exterior leaves here. These can be a little bit dirty, we don't want to use them. So ultimately, I want to cut this cabbage into quarters to make it as easy to work with as possible. So I'm going to start by cutting it in half, and I'm going to cut it lengthwise. All right, and then I'll cut that half in half again. We're going to work with just a quarter at a time. So this stem right here, we don't want to put that into our coleslaw, so we're just going to cut that out. I guess you'd call it the core. And there are a couple different ways that you can go about shredding your cabbage. The first way I'll show you is with a knife. Now you can either cut the cabbage from the shorter end of our quarter here, and this will give you nice shorter pieces, or you can cut it from the longer end right here. Now if I cut it this way, I'm going to have much longer pieces or much longer shreds of cabbage. Of course, then you can just use your knife to cut those into smaller pieces. Now I also want to show you how to quickly shred your cabbage using a mandolin. I love this one. It was super inexpensive. I got it from Walmart. I'll see if I can find a link to it because I use it all the time. And then you can set it to whatever thickness you'd like to shred your cabbage on. And we're just gonna go ahead and quickly shred it that way. This is the fastest way, so it's my favorite way to shred cabbage. And as you can see, I can get the cabbage much thinner when I use the mandolin. Now, if I'm using the mandolin, sometimes I will leave that core in rather than removing it from the cabbage when I go to shred it, just because it gives me something a little bit extra to hold on to when I'm using the mandolin. All right, now for today's coleslaw recipe, you need 3 cups of shredded green cabbage. So I'm just going to measure that out and add it to a large mixing bowl. Next, you are going to need 1 cup of red cabbage. Now I have half of a head of red cabbage right now. Fortunately, I'm not even going to need that much. So I'll go ahead and cut this in half to have a nice quarter. And let's go ahead and shred this one as well. Now I'm just going to cut it into very thin shreds, cutting from the short end. And then we can switch over to our mandolin again. All right, so here I have a cup of red cabbage. I'll just add this in with the green cabbage. Next, you need 1 cup of finely shredded carrots. This is usually about 2 to 3 carrots for me. I do like to quickly peel them first just to make the coleslaw look a little bit prettier. And then I'll just grab a box grater and we can go ahead and shred the carrots. I usually end up starting by shredding them on an angle just to get it started, and then switch so that I'm holding the carrot perpendicular to the grater. That's just going to give me smaller shreds, which I think is nice with coleslaw. Looks like I need 2 carrots to get a cup for today's recipe. We'll add that in with our cabbage and coleslaw. Now I've just lightly tossed these together. They'll get combined even more as we toss the dressing in. But for now, let's go ahead and make our dressing. You will need 2/3 cup of mayonnaise for today's recipe. Add 1½ tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1½ tablespoons of granulated sugar, 1/4 teaspoon salt, and 1/4 teaspoon pepper. Whisk everything together so it's nicely combined. And then we can go ahead and just pour this over our cabbage and carrot mixture. All right, now we'll just stir everything together so that our different colored cabbages and our carrots and our dressing are all thoroughly combined. You want everything to be covered by a nice thin layer of that dressing we just prepared. Now, to help the coleslaw get a really nice flavor, ideally I recommend covering it with plastic wrap and letting it sit in the refrigerator for at least an hour before serving. Then once it's had time to sit, just go ahead and give it another quick toss before you serve it. And it's ready to enjoy. And that is how you make my favorite perfectly creamy coleslaw. I hope you guys enjoyed today's easy recipe, and if you tried this one out, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. That's so good.